You've probably never played a game like this, where things just manage to get more and more absurd as the story unfolds. Million Onion Hotel is a game that you will likely never forget if it ever comes up in conversation. While I can't say that it holds the same longevity as other titles, considering that I was able to complete it in less than an hour and a half, while the internal stat screen telling me that I achieved the true ending, I can say that the gameplay is fairly enjoyable, albeit incredibly frantic at times. More than anything else, I was invested in the story, not in the sense that I cared about any of the characters, but more in the level of the absurdity that was inevitably coming next. The gameplay is unique in that instead of traditional matching mechanisms, you are looking for lines to clear based on the onions or enemies that you clear, similar to bingo. Clearing a line awards you additional time, but once it expires, you'll lose your run and have to start from the beginning. If you manage to match 2 or more lines at the same time, you'll enter a space where there are more onions, allowing you to get easier matches, additional multipliers for scores, characters to pick up and add to your codex, and onion knights, which are used to fight bosses. The bosses can be a bit tricky, with you attempting to throw your onion knights at them when they don't have their shield up, at the same time attempting to clear rows to obtain more ammo. They have some unblockable attacks, which can drain a significant portion of your time if they're not dealt with quickly enough. There are 50 levels in total, with you progressing every time you clear a row, and every 10 levels you'll fight a boss, which upon defeating, you'll be treated to a cutscene that will progress the story forward. Okay, the upsides to this game are pretty straightforward. As I've mentioned, the story is memorable, though it's not necessarily for everyone. More on that later. The sound design is actually spot on, with a funky beat in the background that you play and the tapping of onions adding a nice audio hum when you press them. I think the biggest standout for me was the tempo of the game and how quickly it changed. Early on, you'll find yourself strategically positioning your onions and choosing which ones to tap and which ones to pass on to set yourself up for later combos. However, as you get to the later levels, you'll find yourself frantically tapping enemies that require more than one tap, holding down umbrellas to dodge missiles, and just trying to keep up with all of the visual feedback that you'll be receiving. The downsides to this game are pretty harsh. For starters, the game is insanely short. If you have a general understanding of how the game works, I could theoretically see you completing it on your first try. This is based on the fact that I was able to complete it in 3 attempts, with my first attempt really focusing on better understanding the mechanics. There's little in terms of replay value outside of chasing a high score or completing the game's codex. Another thing that must be mentioned is the story. While it's definitely unique, it's also not for everyone. There are clear sexually suggestive themes and murder. This is not something that you expect going in, and it caught me a bit off guard when it happened. It doesn't detract from the story, but it's something that needed to be explained. The last con that I wanted to address was that at some point the game mechanics are not properly explained, particularly during boss fights. You can tap the bottom of your screen to send your onion knights to attack, and I didn't realize this until I managed to clear the first boss, unintentionally tapping them while I was trying to clear onions below. Million Onion Hotel is a game that is difficult to accurately describe. Yes, it's interesting and pretty fun for the brief moment that you play it, which for me was roughly an hour and a half. At $5, that may be too high of an asking price for what some people are expecting. On the bright side, it goes on sale for less than $2 on both iOS and Android and is included in the Google Play Pass. At that price, it's probably worth checking out. Regardless, I hope I've provided you with sufficient information to make an informed decision. If you have any games for me to review, leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, stay tuned in to Gaming in the Moment.